Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Dom Reed's USM Ultimate Spider-Man, the third volume series 2024 by Jonathan Hickman, Marco Cacchetto, and whoever decides to pick it up on art. I got the first issue right here. We're going to be taking a deep dive into all of the issues, the rumors, the specs, and just the craft of the issue, the new reveals, and everything else. And this would have come out sooner if I had not gotten blown away by the writing, the structure, the storytelling, the paneling, the characters, and everything else, few and far in between. You can check out my first episode of Domentary if you guys haven't yet, where it's less spoilery and more talking about feelings and just overall how I have been feeling in comics up until that point, and completely unfiltered, etc. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, everybody, this is going to be the first overview that I am doing on my channel with a physical copy of a comic book. I know that some people prefer having it digital with scans and screenshots and whatnot. But for me, I think a part of reading comics is just the intimate connection that you get to have with the book, which is why I always oddly prefer. Like this also is the same thing with me for my classes, and if I have textbooks, I always just prefer having the book on my hands. I love flipping through it. Again, I know some people have different thoughts about it, but again, that is just me, and I respect everyone who has different opinions and says about it. But that's what I love doing. So let's go ahead and kick this book open. But before that, I want to give a quick and big shout out to Jay Bowen, who is one of Marvel's production designers, along with Anthony Gambino, Carlos Lau. They do a wonderful job on manufacturing the designs and the overlays and the outlooks of how these books are going to be structured and texted. It's a wonderful thing to have people who know what they're doing, especially in regards to this. But I thought it was just a nice touch just to have a nomer or like an indicator that, hey, you're reading an Ultimate title. And it's cool that they have different symbols for each one. The one for X-Men is my favorite, and I might do a read through of Ultimate X-Men, and I have no idea if that's going to be out the first week or if it's going to be me diving into it weeks later. But it's just something they always appreciate, that just again, it looks so nice to have this recap page 2 with this, and Cacchetto tweeting it out right as the issue dropped on Wednesday. It is a very, very nice thing to have. And some people have been asking, do I need to read Ultimate Invasion before this? And I will give you the quick answer. No. And the reason to why, and before that, I'll quickly explain what Ultimate Invasion is. Ultimate Invasion was a 4-issue series by Jonathan Hickman that he did with Brian Hitch, the artist of Ultimates, Captain America, The Authority, JLA. He's one of my favorite artists. I know that it's a scalding take after his recent output on Venom, but I've always liked his art. I love his spread pages, his action pages. He makes things epic, and that's why he tends to work for me in ways that some others don't. But besides the point, Ultimate Invasion was the setup for a Donny Cates new universe, but never came to fruition. Partly because Cates has not been writing comics in such a long time. So Jonathan Hickman picked up on it, and I know that some people are partly upset with that, but for me, I prefer Hickman as a writer. It would have been cool to see what the original vision was, but Jonathan Hickman is now here doing Spider-Man, and I believe what he said in the interview that Marvel posted was he has a story to tell, and he's going to stop writing when there is no more story to tell. So I hope that means multiple years on this title. And before that, let's run through the creator credits real quick. You had the script by Jonathan Hickman. You had the art by Marco Cacchetto. The colors by Matt Wilson. Letters by Corey Pettit. And then you have the executive editor for the Ultimate line, Will Moss and Michelle Marchese. One thing I'm going to say real quick before we get into the minutia, the writing, and everything else. Kiketo is the perfect person to draw this book. The layouts and the way that everything is structured via the panels, the way scenes are framed, the angles, everything is perfect in that front. You've got the tiny little cool details, like as you see Peter putting on his work suit. And then we'll get to it, but there are scenes where you're just like, that hits so well, and it's partly because of just the way that Kiketo frames each shot in each panel. And that is the mastery of craft that so many people just, it's hard to grasp, but he's been doing this for years. He's done it on the regular Amazing Spider-Man title. He did it for Punisher with Greg Rucka, and most recently the stellar and amazing run that he did with Chip Zdarsky, which is one of my favorites. And we cover this on New and Nerdum, which is my weekly podcast that I do with my good buddy Dylan, where we cover regular issues and collected editions that come out that week. Devil's Reign, the event right in between the first and second Daredevil series that Chip Zdarsky wrote. Kiketo drew the main series for that event, and the omnibus is also out. So the one thing I just love, again, Marco is the perfect artist for this book. Just look at the details in that. I don't know if there's anyone in the industry who does hair better than Marco. It just flows. It's always, it feels natural. It doesn't feel like it was painted on or just slapped onto. It always feels like there's a breeze or something going through it. It's perfect. And the first reveal that we have is that this Peter Parker, obviously older, this is a middle-aged Peter Parker who is running through the regular midlife crisis for Americans. But not only that, he's got 2 kids, and their names are May Parker, which is going to pop a lot of heads with another reveal later in the book, and then Mr. Richard Parker, named after the actual Peter Parker's dad. I just thought that was super cute, super nice of Jonathan. See, that's one thing too. Whenever I know that some people don't feel like there's some emotional depth with Hickman's stories. I would tend to disagree, just partly because of cute moments like this. He had some in X-Men too, obviously with the thruple room in the data page that Tom Mueller did in the pages of X-Men #1. The whole entire Vault arc, which you guys should read, it's X-Men 5/18-19. It's moments like that, and it's also displayed here too. And obviously we'll get to MJ in a bit, but it's moments like that where you could just appreciate that he's actually putting some effort, not only some effort, but a lot of love and dedication to what he's working on. Like it's not just we're getting to a point where the universe is dying. No, it's everything in between that makes it special, and I'm really glad that it's all presented here. But again, as if I even need to say it, it is awesome that Mary Jane and Peter Parker are married. A lot of people have been clamoring for them to get back together, and obviously with where Marvel's higher ups, I wouldn't even call it editorial. I'm thinking it's probably higher than your Nick Lowe's and C.B. Cebulski's of the world. I think it might come from a bigger Marvel executive. But obviously after the events of One More Day, it's no bueno. It's not a feasible way to get those two back together. But just seeing these two in this setting together, that's just adorable. Would it be cool to see how they got together in this universe? Probably, but honestly, I think a lot of people have been wanting to see them enough to the point where I don't know if it's necessary that we need to know how they got together. I'll do it. You may know, you can write headcanons. It's just awesome that Hickman put these two together. And obviously the banter between them is sparkles perfect, 10 out of 10. I don't need to rehash that. So you got the family life, which is perfect, and then we transition here to the Daily Bugle, and a big question that a lot of people were asking: how is J. Jonah going to play off of this Peter Parker? It's easier to play J. Jonah Jameson against a younger high school, college student because that's sort of I mean, it's easy if you're a 50-year-old man who's in charge of a newspaper or publication company. Wouldn't you tend to boss around your subordinates a lot more? But if you got Peter Parker, who is in his middle, in the middle age, maybe 40s, let's just 30s. I'll give him 30s just because of his kids being younger. Maybe 40s. I guess it would just depend. Maybe we'll find out. But the way that their relationship is drawn here is perfect, and I'll get to that point for the next page. But a wonderful sight to see. Obviously, it's hard to do Spider-Man without J. Jonah Jameson. I mean, you need him. Regardless, again, when we talk about Kaketo, the staging, the angle and the shot, it feels like you're actually walking in and you're seeing Benjamin Parker is alive in this universe. Most stories, if not all stories, have your regular Uncle Ben moment, right? It's and I'll steal this from Spider-Verse because they did it so well, the canon event, as they call it, in the Marvel, in the Spider-Verse movie, where someone close to the character has to die to progress the character further. Jonathan Hickman plays this off by having Ben Parker. Again, you don't expect this. I think a lot of people were coming into the expectations of this book saying, it's going to be your regular Spider-Man origin story. This is not your regular Spider-Man origin story. And I think Jonathan was smart enough to relay this in a way that you are astoundingly shocked when you find out that certain characters that are very important to not only the Spider-Man mythos, but the motivation for his entire character are relayed here in a notion that is just absolutely perfect. Managing editor for the Daily Bugle is Ben Parker. J. Jonah Jameson and him are having fantastic conversations. Again, the banter between everyone is pretty much perfect, on point. I don't really know if I have anything else to say with the way that Hickman is able to bounce characters off of each other, because of the way that they all talk with each other, it's all organic. You never feel like there's exposition dump, or that he is overplaying one character for another to push someone else forward. Everyone has a story that needs to be told in this issue, and it all flows along perfectly. There's not one point where I'm like, why is, like, usually it's like for these superhero stories, sometimes you'll have an explanation dump of Ben saying, no, this is why I'm here, this is why we're all here. But no, the panels, the way that everything is structured, you have everything flowing in perfect order. There's not one moment where it feels too dull. The pacing is perfect in this issue. And pacing is really hard to get, especially if you have a first issue where you need to hook pretty much everyone on this title. This, I think, was Marvel's... like Jonathan Hickman needed to hit this out of the park. I think I think it worked perfectly. A fantastic moment between these two, by the way, with the tie. I don't think I could be more enticed with the way that Jay Jonah just isn't completely condescending on Peter. I think he actually wants to see him succeed. And man, I remember when I was in middle school and we had a competition. It was for piano, and I was going up against some other people who were my peers in the same grades that I needed to win against. I remember one of my uncles. I'm Filipino, so I call all of my uncles and aunts titos and titas. Tito for uncle, aunt for tita. And one of my titos came up to me. He saw that I looked a lot like Peter, except without the jacket. I just had the buttoned up polo shirt. And he came over. He took off his tie. It was a really nice blue tie, and put it all on me. And he said, "Man, you need to look good when you perform and up there on the stage." And it just brings me good memories of actually needing to look presentable and growing up. I mean, that was a nice touch there from Hickman and Keto. Not to mention, the New York color scheme is perfect. Matt Wilson is one of my favorite colorists. He was the colorist on Thor with Russell Donnerman when Jane Foster was the wielder of Mjolnir. He recently did some colors for Wolverine and the last bits of Daredevil. He's one of my favorite colorists. I love him. Eisner Award winner. Jamie McKelvey, he also colored him on Young Avengers and Wicked and Divine. Absolutely spectacular colors, and the way that everything again is presented all feels fluid, and it feels authentic too. If you were set in this universe, and this is the thing about Marvel that differentiates it from DC Comics, Marvel is all about, what if we lived in a world filled with superheroes? There's not one scene in this comic book that feels unbelievable. Everything is perfectly adhered to the atmosphere that Jonathan has set up with these characters. And again, you get more heartwarming and touching moments between these two, so you get to learn more of them. And the cool thing, and I learned this through, I remember watching, I can't remember which video it was. It was a Star Wars video that my friend showed me. It might have been a Mr. Plinkett video where I learned that you need a protagonist. We can place ourselves in that character's shoes so that we understand more of the world that's coming around them. And Ben plays off what this New York and what Peter's life is like. Again, it's all fluid. It's perfect. It's sound on a technical aspect that it's never like we're being force-fed information. We want to learn more about this world around us. And this world also includes Mr. Murdoch, aka Father Murdoch, aka possibly Daredevil. I know that some people are probably clamoring for an ultimate Daredevil title. I doubt that we'll ever get it, just because of how 616 Ahmed is currently structured and how Chip Zdarsky, I apologize, Saladin Ahmed is currently writing the title. Chip Zdarsky helped consult on the title and worked with him extensively to push forward the new status quo, which is a really nice thing of Chip to do. I doubt that we'll get a Daredevil title because of that. If you guys haven't read Ahmed's Daredevil, the first run has been fun. I suggest you guys go ahead, check it out, or if at the very least read the end of Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil to see what Matt has been doing. It's pretty awesome stuff. And again, the context here is perfect. Again, Kaketo, the way that he just stages each scene, it hits you. There is a resonance that strikes your soul whenever you see something laid out like this. When you get and see, oh my gosh, May Parker isn't here. It's such a twist, but it works because the way that it's presented to the reader is it's incredibly well done. And again, kudos to the whole entire team for doing this. And then we learn more about the Osborns and what their role is, because the Green Goblin is the most important supervillain in Spider-Man's mythos, and I don't think that's a hot take. So nonetheless, we get to figure out Harry, what he's doing there. Again, fantastic scene between characters. And this was a nice panel. That is a cute, touching moment. Mr. Jameson is out. This is the biggest reveal, or one of the biggest reveals of the issue. There are a lot of the reveals, obviously, but that has to be one of the biggest ones. I mean, he's out. The guy's done. And another big reveal. You get a lot of stuff back to back. But this has to be the most shocking one, because I fully expected J. Jonah to be at the Bugle, but we're going with a completely different direction for the character, and it makes a lot of sense in the context that, again, everything is presented in. You get a good old Mr. Joe Robertson, and he and Ben Parker are managing and figuring out, man, what are we going to do without J. Jonah? And then steps Wilson Fisk. Do we know if he's the Kingpin yet? Anyways, Mr. Fisk is going to pop up. He's going to discuss some internal matters and affairs. It looks like Mr. Parker got promoted. Smiling, heads out. And again, like sometimes Hickman will have a character say a line or two that might feel out of touch. But again, there's none of that weird dialogue here. It's all natural. It flows perfectly. And after the meeting, Mr. Fisk steps out. We get a big kablooey. Who is that? Is it Harry? Is it someone else? We have no idea. The solicitation text for number 2, if you guys haven't noticed yet, the overlay that I have set up with this series right now is to have the issues and the release dates running on the side, so you guys know when the next issues are coming out and when to expect the next Dom Reed's Ultimate Spider-Man episodes. So that'll be over here on the right-hand corner at some point. We have no idea who this is. I would love to know more on who this Green Goblin is. I'm expecting Harry, but honestly, after this reveal, after this particular reveal, I'm ready for the unexpected. I am legitimately shocked at some of the character decisions that, like Jonathan Hickman, when he said that he was shaking up the way that we envisioned Spider-Man for this Ultimate series, he was not joking. And I know that for some people, again, he has tough bills to live up to. People love the original Ultimate Spider-Man run with Brian Bendis and Mark Bagley and Stuart Immonen. That is the holy grail for a lot of Spider-Man readers, especially people who grew up in the early 2000s. So I welcome any changes as long as it continues to fit with the Spider-Man mythos. He's already got me sold over there, etc. You guys already knew that. And then you have Mr. Ben Parker and J. Jonah Jameson talking about their future plans with the media. And Mr. Parker also needs more money. Now, I know that I saw somewhere someone asking, how can you afford this nice apartment if he's running on a low income? And honestly, I actually prefer that Parker be low, like low in money, mainly because I just think it fits better with his character. He just can't get a break. That's always been a part of the Parker luck, if that's what you want to call it. He just can't catch a break. MJ is probably a fashion designer or model or something. She's the one getting the big bucks, and it mirrors my family a lot too. So that is nice. I love the response that J. Jonah Jameson just gives Peter Parker. It's a day 2 problem. Again, perfection. And this page, I don't even need to explain it. Just read it for yourself, because it's a wonderful, wonderful conversation and motivation for Peter Parker, and that will later be used in the title. And these are the moments that you live for. The moments where you see two of the main characters, whether they're friends or they're love interests or they're allies or they're colleagues or whatever it might be. The emotional moments that you live for in comics are the moments when you strip characters down and just have them talk in a room. I mean, it mirrors every single bit and aspect of your life, right? Like, the last time you talked to someone you loved or someone or something else, and you just have that, man, that's what life really feels like. I again, it's this is the same way that I felt when I read X-Men number 19 by Jonathan Hickman, the end of the Vault arc. The same feelings are touched on here, and honestly, this is the soap opera stuff that Stan Lee was incredibly famous for in the 60s. I am starting a brand new series called Dom Reads ASM. That's going to be on TikTok. It'll probably be here on YouTube Shorts too. And I have been reading 60s, 70s, 80s Spider-Man diligently. And part of the reasons why I love the Stan Lee run so much more than other Silver Age comics is because it's a perfect balance of superhero-y and just regular old soap opera stuff. One thing that I love about Stan Lee Spider-Man is just the reason I think to why we all love Spider-Man is because of that balance, right? That he has to balance his work life and he has to balance his regular life. And yes, I know that he isn't Spider-Man yet, but what better way to relate to a character than to get to see how they actually are in real life and how they fix themselves in situations that we can attune to, that we can say, hey, I've been in those shoes. We've all had money problems. We have all had failures and ups and downs in relationships. We've all been shocked by someone getting let go. This is exactly what Spider-Man is all about, like why we love him so much. It's because of those moments. It's because of those moments that we live in, and just to see the conversation between these two and the ultimate motivation, no pun intended, with the oh my goodness. I'm like, my heart can't take it. Like, go get him. Like that. He cares. But this happened, and we get another reveal. Peter Parker again has not been bitten by the spider. It's been years. It's been 20 years since that happened. And you got Tony Stark, who is talking about the 6-month time frame where he's from the future, and he now gets a choice. Are you going to take up that responsibility or not? And guess what? I can't wait for the next couple of issues. It's going to be insane. And I can't wait to cover all of this again from front to back. And the same with the Ultimate line. It's a TBD. I probably will do trade paperback overviews for the Ultimate line of comics. I'm not a trade guy, but there's a lot of people who I want to get into comics. Well, some of you guys, maybe you guys will get the opportunity to win an Ultimate Spidey, Black Panther, X-Men, or Ultimates, the Ultimate line of Avengers. You guys will be able to get a chance to own it yourself. I'm planning on purchasing a couple more copies, and I'll keep you guys updated on that later. Thank you guys so much for watching the first episode of Dom Reads USM, and this is going to come out the week of, if not again the day of, Ultimate Spider-Man new issues coming out. I am going to have a heck of a time here, guys, and I hope you guys have a heck of a time with me here too. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. It helps me keep going, and it helps me know what you guys want to see, and leave a comment down below on suggestions, what else you guys want to see from my channel. I love comics, I love the craft, I love the art, and I just want to be able to create content for you guys to be able to share to the world. And stay cool, and as always, you be you, and have an epic day.